Joining me today is the man that boasts a 25-1 record with 9 KOs. He's currently the number 13 ranked junior white lightweight in the WBO's division. He goes by the nickname Sharpshooter, and he has an upcoming fight on May 23rd for the WBC Silver Championship. That is Archie Sharp. Archie, appreciate your time to come on today, man.
Thanks for having me on. I much appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I just said, you've got a big upcoming fight, May 23rd against Maxi Hughes. We're about 10 days out now from the fight. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, 10 days out. Looking very much forward to it. Obviously coming off the last fight, I just want to hurry up and get back in there.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you prepare for this fight, it's going to be a huge opportunity for you to obviously reboost your name, move to 135 officially now. When you talk about what you just want to accomplish, what the statement is that you want to send on May 23rd, how would you answer that?
So the thing is with me, I appreciate my last few fights and probably my career. No one's really seen the best Archie shot. And
Okay.
you hear a lot of people on social media saying a few things that I'm not ready for the big fights or I shouldn't be there. But
Mm-hmm.
I know how good I am. I know what I've done throughout my career and what I've got to show. So therefore, fighting someone like Maxi Hughes, who's been at world level,
Mm-hmm.
arguably beat George Kambosos,
Yep.
um, I'll go and put on a big show against him, a dominating performance, which I believe I'll do. Then that chucks me straight back up in there for the big fights.
You had a move now where you've kind of been going back and forth between a couple of different weight classes now, but I'm pretty sure you now officially have made the jump now to 135 as officially this division you want to make at your new mark. What led to the decision? Why do you want to move to 135 now?
Should have done that a long time ago. I just
Okay.
kind of stayed there. The fights with Navarrete, Shakur Stevenson, all these big names were kind of dangling a carrot there. So I stayed
Mm-hmm.
at 130, highly ranked in the WBO, but never got my shot. I should have moved up good to possibly 3 years ago. And
Okay.
after the Ryan Garner fight, I personally believe I've got the ability and everything to beat Ryan Garner. But unfortunately, the weight just kind of took that too much out of me, So I couldn't
Yeah.
perform at my best. So therefore, life works in mysterious ways, and I had to take a defeat to kind of make that decision to go up.
Well, we're going to get to more of that a little bit later, but I want to go back to the Maxi Hughes fight upcoming now. And you talk about this opportunity. You're going to be fighting inside an Eco Power Stadium. That's got to be a fun atmosphere to be a part of there. When you're in a stadium fight, in a situation where you get to go fight in front of great fans in a stadium, does that bring a little bit more excitement to the fight?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I'm going to his home ground.
Right. Yep.
I'm the away fighter. It's his backyard. He's the champion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all against me. I know the bookies have got it all against me.
Mm-hmm.
But that just brings the underdog mentality, and that's what I need. That's what I've needed for a very long time. A fight where everyone's writing me off. I've done things correctly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to putting on a good show.
If you were to make a prediction 10 days out, what do you think is going to happen on May 23rd?
May 23rd is going to be a dominating performance from myself, and I'm going to showcase why I believe that I'm world class fighter.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to ask you to another aspect, and that's that you go by a sharpshooter. I got another backstory behind that. How that nickname come to be?
Yeah, I was as a pro. I think the local newspapers. 'Cause I was the babyface assassin through my
Mm-hmm.
career, and then I see in the paper about sharpshooting, so
Okay.
that stuck with me ever since.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to get into your career a little bit because you've had quite the journey throughout your career. I want people to get to know your story and all. So we're gonna go all the way back to start this off, though. And that's talking about how you got into boxing. Was this the sport that you always loved? Did you always want to be a boxer? When did that come for you?
I was just a very energetic kid.
Okay.
My dad took me to a local gym at the age of 7, and I've done all the sports: rugby, football, swimming,
Mm.
and then boxing is just a good way for me to channel my energy. And I ended
Okay.
up being half decent there. From the age of 11, I started winning national titles back to back, and that's how I kind of stuck with it.
When did you start to realize that, you know what, boxing is not something I just like now, but I feel like I could actually have a really good career in boxing?
I think when won my second national title,
Okay.
second or third national title, probably about 13, 14, in secondary school, everyone's asking me, the teachers, like, what do you want to do when you leave school? For me, it was like boxing was just solely my avenue. I just want to be a professional boxer, be a world champion. So yeah, from that age, really.
If I were to tell the young Archie that you're going to have the career that you've had to this point, would you have been shocked? Would this have been what you expected? Did you expect to do more than this? How would you have answered that? What would your reaction have been?
Yeah, been very shocked.
Okay.
Things haven't kind of planned out how I expect them to be.
Hmm.
But now in the long run, it's character built me completely different. I feel I'm in a good place now. I'm ready for these big fights, ready for the big nights.
Mm.
Whereas if you said, I feel like I've always had the ability. I feel like I've always been ready.
Sure.
But in hindsight, looking back now, when I was calling out for these big names, these big fights at the age of 24, I don't think probably mentally I was as ready. And also I've got a family, got 4 kids. I had
Hmm.
4 kids by the age of 28. So yeah, so that was hard, trying to have all these young kids coming through, trying to do a career. Where now I'm at a good age. My youngest is finally sleeping, things like that, people don't see.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I've done it all. I wouldn't change anything. I wanted
Okay.
to be boxing for world titles at the age of 25. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't change it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm 30 now. I feel good for it. I feel a lot better for it. A 30-year-old Archie Sharp would beat a 25-year-old Archie Sharp.
All right. I love that answer because I wanted to go into some of this, but you know that 2020 and pretty much the past like 4 or 5 years have been an interesting stretch. Lots of ups and downs for yourself. But you said something interesting. You wouldn't change it. You think it grew you. It made you even a better person and fighter now. Why would you answer that? Why do you feel like that's what happened? That even though you had trials and tribulations, even though things didn't go as planned, you feel like it made you a better person?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's even with the loss with Ryan Garner, no one wants to lose.
Yep.
But I feel like I got a bit complacent. Wasn't doing
Mm,
things correctly. I was setting up businesses aside from boxing and kind
mm,
of putting boxing second when that's
okay.
never happened. And yeah, like yeah, COVID. I think as I was about to come back, I had a bad injury, a few political issues. So I was at. So I feel like I've been a pro for 10 years. I feel like I've had like four years kind of taken just with one
Sure.
fight here and there. But like I said, I wouldn't change it. It's built me, made me a stronger person, more mentally ready. And I don't feel like I've been gifted anything. I haven't just
Mm,
come in the pro ranks and had a fair few easy fights, built my career. Like it hasn't been like that for me. I had a really good run, come across a load of bumps and hurdles,
sure.
but it is what it is. We are where we are, and I feel good for it. And I've got that fire in the belly. I haven't had this for a very, very long time.
You know, the boxing story has always been unique to me because I feel like you look at boxing as so much, you can relate it to so much about life. You know, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to get knocked down. You have to get back up again. And you've been a living testimony of that, both inside and outside of the ring now. What would you say has been the biggest thing that you've learned from the past 3, 4 years, 5 years now of your life that's helped you and kind of taught you maybe inside, but also outside the ring?
Patience.
Okay.
I say patience because everybody wants yesterday. Like everyone
Mm,
wants to be 100 mile an hour all the time. So for myself, it's just patience and trust the timing, and
okay.
things will happen. And for the good, right, you keep doing the correct things, keep conducting yourself correctly, and then things should work out.
I also want to go into a couple other aspects for you, and one of which is you had a viral moment against Diego Andrade. I have to ask about that situation. I know you know what I'm talking about there with when he went flying over your shoulder. So just because I know it's a very, very viral moment that you've had in your career, can you run us through that play real quick? What all went down in that moment?
Do you know what? He was a fighter who just kept pushing the pace. He was on me all the time, um,
Yep.
swinging. He was wild, and then we kept clashing. I'd cut the bad cuts, and I just felt him on my shoulder. But I kind of stood up. I kind of stood, but he was still on there. So I thought I'll just go away through with it, and then that's what happened. And then he went over and tumbled, and next minute, it's a viral video with millions of views.
Did you expect that video to go as viral as it did?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to ask you another thing because you have 9 KOs to your record, though. I feel like there's one that stands out more than the other ones, but I want to ask you this question specifically. What would you say has been your favorite KO in your career?
I'd say the Declan Gary
Yeah.
fight at Royal Albert Hall because such a great night, and obviously it was my first proper good knockout.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well, I know I punch a lot harder than what my record says.
Okay.
Um, but that was a perfect example because that wasn't really much about punching power. That was just
Agree.
more timing. That
Hmm.
was more just hitting it on a sweet spot. So yeah, that was a good memorable night.
Walk us through that moment a little bit more because you look at the situation. Obviously, the rounds, you know, you were losing quite a few of those rounds leading up to that point, and then you put the cherry on top and it's all over. And there's no other sport other than boxing where you get that opportunity. You could be down multiple goals in football. You could be up multiple points in basketball. You can't just erase it by that just that in a split second. You can do that in combat sports though, and that's what you did that night. Walk us through just that moment and just the reaction you were able to have after that.
So it goes back probably about 6, 7, possibly 8 weeks before the fight when I had the phone call. I
Mm-hmm.
was in Spain. My manager calls me and says, "Archie, we've got the Declan Garrity fight." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "No problem. We'll knock him out with a left hook."
All right.
And for the whole camp, all I kept saying to my trainer is, "I'm going to catch him with a left hook. It's going to be a left hook." We get in there, and then the first couple of rounds, like you say, I was losing 2-up till I caught him, and
Mm-hmm.
I got a cut as well in the third round.
Yep.
And I remember my trainer saying, "Look, Arch, you need to close distance now." He's running away with it a little bit because all I had in my head was just landing a left hook, and I was looking for it way too much.
Mm.
And then obviously I found myself in a position where I kind of switched from orthodox to southpaw, and I just chopped it over and then I
Mm-hmm.
put him on a sweet spot.
All right. Well, I want to go back into this past few years for yourself, and one of those aspects is that you had a lot of inactivity. Like you said, there's sometimes where you feel like you almost lost a year or two of your career during that time span. When you're a fighter, you want to stay active. You want to be in the ring. You like doing what you love doing. How difficult was that for you?
Very difficult.
Okay.
Um, like I said about the character building, there was times where I thought maybe I have to stop the boxing now. Got a
Mm-hmm.
family, got a house, got bills.
Mm-hmm.
I find it difficult. So I was thinking I might have to get rid of the boxing and go and do something else. So it was very challenging, but I just stayed focused, read books, listened to a lot of podcasts, done a little bit of finding myself, and
Okay.
then stuck with it.
You said something very interesting there that you almost were considering going away from boxing. I'm not sure how many people know that story about you. So, how close did that ever get? What point? What would you say was the closest time you ever got in your life to saying, you know what, maybe it's time to go a different path?
I think it was after as we was coming out of COVID, I was due to fight on an undercard of Carl Frampton. And at this
Okay.
point, I was highly ranked in the WBO.
Hmm.
Obviously, a good win there could have put me on to the either fighting Carl or possibly Jamel Herring at the time.
Okay.
And as I was getting ready, a couple of weeks out, I was in the gym, broke my arm. And I
Hmm.
just thought, right, well, obviously this ain't meant to be. I've had 2 years out, bad injury, and the break come from something just doing a bit of body sparring, which I've been doing since the age of sparring and body sparring since the age of 7. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, there was a shot thrown. I kind of put my arm out, and it snapped my ulnar.
Mm.
And that shot's probably hit there millions of times and million times since. Never had a
Yeah.
problem. But at that time, I just thought, well, this is very unusual. Maybe someone's telling me that this is it. This is my longest run now with the boxing. But we got through it. Got myself back in a gym, and then yeah, just kept punching away. And now
Mhm.
we are where we are today.
What would you say was the biggest motivating factor that when you got to that point trying to make that decision that you said, you know what, I'm going to go back to boxing. This is what I'm meant for. I don't care the trials and tribulations. I'm going to go be great in the sport.
So I suppose it's the family. The
Okay.
kids. If I just walked away, they look like I'm quitting. When
Mm.
I've got so much more to give to the sport. And what you're gonna do when life gets hard is gonna spit your dummy out and walk away. So I
Mm.
kind of sat down, give myself a reality check, and said, "Stop feeling sorry for myself. Just crack on with it. Just it would all work out." And I dreamt as a kid to being a champion of the world and being the best as I can be in the sport of boxing at the weight. So therefore, if I just walked away there, I wouldn't give myself like the full chance.
Mm.
Where so yeah, I think that's kind of the point. I just sat there, spoke to myself, had a little chat, and
Okay.
said, "Liven up, got kids, got a family, and we will do it."
That goes back to the kind of how I said that boxing almost relates to the real world experience of people going through life, trials and tribulations. And like you said, you didn't want to give up. You wanted to continue pursuing your dream. And I feel like for so many people out there, whether they're athletes or not athletes, that's a situation a lot of people come across. Do you want to go just pursue and find money for yourself, or do you want to go and pursue your dream? You obviously chose pursuing your dream, and obviously the financial benefits have come along with that now. What would be your motivation, your inspiration to those that are going through those times in life? And you kind of say, you know what, just stay focused on the goal, stay consistent, it's going to work out.
Yeah, because if you look up a lot of like entrepreneurs or sportsmen or anyone who's kind of made it in life,
Sure.
when you listen to their story, they've all hit roads. Like they've
Mhm.
all hit bad points. Nobody's had it easy. Um, so yeah, you just got nothing is easy in life, you know, anything good doesn't come easy. So it is
Right.
hard work and sacrifice and dedication. So you just got to keep pushing and it will happen. You know, you just got to have that mindset and that belief in yourself.
In the midst of this time period, you also added Roy Jones into your corner. That had to be a person that was huge for you to be able to listen to, learn from one of the all-time greats. How big was that for you?
Yeah, massive for me because growing up, when my dad took me to a local gym at the age of 7, they're the fighters that I watched. You know, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Roy Jones
Okay.
Juniors. Um, that's what I was studying as a kid. So having Roy beside me was unreal. And even though he's not working with me anymore, he's still a friend of mine. We still speak.
Mhm.
He's just a very busy man, you know.
Yeah.
And it probably just didn't really work for myself. With going out there, and it just wasn't kind of it didn't really gel. But
Sure.
what I learned from him in a short period of time working together was very good, phenomenal, and very grateful. But like I say, we're still good friends. We still speak all the time.
Love that. What would you say is the biggest lesson he taught you?
Um, I just watch the boxing different now. How I
Mm.
used to watch it. Like, there's
Okay.
things now, certain things that I look at uh, that he told me about, which I wasn't really aware of. So
Okay.
that was interesting.
I also want to go into your previous fight against Ryan Gardner. You already said in the beginning of this interview that's a fight that you feel like the weight cut got impacted. You obviously had a lot of different dry spouts or whatever it was, and you obviously got to a point where you feel like you could have possibly won that fight if things were going the right way. But let's go into that fight a little bit deeper because obviously that was your very first career loss, and that's never easy per se. But when you reflect back on that loss, what's the biggest thing you learned from that loss?
Um, there's a few big points that I've learned, but
Okay.
it wasn't really so much what he done. It was from myself, you know.
Right.
Like the fight previous to that, I was on the canvas for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in the first round, which has never happened to me. I've sparred big punchers, been in the ring with big punchers, and that's never happened. So that happened, and then the Ghana fight come, and I ended up getting beat. But there was things happening outside that I kind of was ignoring, and I
Mm-hmm.
should have picked it up on the fight where I went on the canvas back in May,
Mm-hmm.
but I never. I didn't listen. Kind of a bit ignorant to the certain points that was happening, and then yeah, the Ghana fight come, and I just realised I just can't keep turning up and relying on ability always to get me through.
Okay. When you talk about that fight, is that a fight you would ever see in your career future that you would want to possibly rematch, or is that something you just kind of move on for and you're ready to go all in on a different path?
Yeah, so originally after the fight within the week, I sat with Frank Warren and I
Mhm.
said, I want to kind of redeem that fight, the ASAP. It has to be before the end of the year because I can't make 130. Like if I do, if I make it again, it's only to have the rematch. And
Mhm.
then Frank was like, "Look, that can't happen. It won't happen with the time. You're best off just moving up. You're not the same fighter where I was at 130," which I agree.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's definitely a fight if it happens at lightweight, for sure.
So it just would have to be Ryan Gardner moving up to 135. Then that's the only way it's going to happen. Then.
Yeah, no, I'll never be able to make 130 again. Like I say, I'm 10 days out now,
Mhm.
and the weight where I am and where I'm sitting at, I can't believe that I'd have had to be in this weight or a little bit lighter starting the camp at 130, and I can't believe how I even done it.
How much do you feel like the weight drained you then? Because that's obviously a huge thing. I know that's obviously a big thing in boxing and combat sports. Getting the right weight class and whatnot. How much of an impact has that had on your career over the past few years?
I think quite a bit really. Like I said, I can punch for the weight. Even though I wasn't knocking everyone out and stopping everyone,
Sure.
even fighters have gone the distance I've had over. There was one in particular fight with Jordan McCorry. I had him hurt a few times, but my hands just hurt, so I couldn't get him out of there.
Mm.
I badly bruised my hands. So I know I can be strong for the weight, but I haven't shown that. And that was back in 2019. And then we
Okay.
had COVID. And then since then, I keep making that 130. And it took my power and it took the fitness because I train hard, always for all the camps. I train hard.
Mhm.
But for the Ghana fight, after 4 or 5 rounds, my energy levels were just zapped out. I didn't
Mm.
feel like I had my legs with me. and especially my style of fighting, being on the back foot, counter punching, in and out
Right.
of styles, you need obviously high fitness levels, and
Sure.
they were just zapped.
Therefore, knowing this is now the fact that you feel like you're gonna be better at this weight class, is this going to be the best version of Archie Sharp that we've ever seen before on May 23rd?
I believe so. I
Okay.
believe so. I know everyone's writing me off, and they feel like I'm just coming here and it's all against me. Maxi Hughes gonna walk through me, but I feel like this is my fight now.
Now, going forward, obviously, I don't want you to look past Maxi Hughes, but you look at 135 now, and I know, as you said already before, there is a guy that's going to have 135, a current champion that you've called out before. You've gone back and forth with him. That's Shakur Stevenson. Are there eyes on? Are you kind of having your mindset on? Okay, if I get this WBC silver, you know you're gonna be positioned to possibly work your way up the world rankings again. Is that the fight you would want long term? Is that like the biggest fight you could possibly make that you would want at 135?
Yeah, just Shakur Stevenson, definitely.
Hmm.
That's a fight I've been chasing for a long time. 130. I think it more so because at the time everyone was saying, obviously, listen, he's a great fighter. He really is. He's a great
Right.
fighter. But a lot of fighters were avoiding him, and he was making it clear that no one wanted to box him. I was number one in the WBO, and I was saying, "Well, I'm here. I want to fight," but I
Hmm.
kept getting overlooked and not getting the opportunity. So now I get myself highly back up in the 135 in the WBC now, and yeah, the Shakur fight is definitely on my radar.
I know that was, like you said, something that you guys were trying to make happen at 130 before. What exactly happened? Why'd that fight never come to fruition?
I'm not too sure. He was a WBO champion. I was number
Yeah.
one in the WBO.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I just never got the opportunity. I think number two was Valdez at the time. He got the shot.
Hmm.
Navarrete was below me at one point as well. So yeah, just got overlooked and avoided.
Obviously, you'd have to win the WBC Silver Championship first on May 23rd, but how many more fights do you think you'd have to get to the Shakur Stevenson fight could possibly come to fruition? Do you see that being one or two fights? Have you even talked to Frank Warren about that yet, or what kind of game plan in that regards?
Yeah, I believe one or two fights.
Okay.
WBC Silver's a good belt. Puts you highly up there. So why
Right.
not have a final eliminator or jump straight in? It just all depends what's going on in and around the weight. But I know he's fighting Zapita. So
Right.
depending what happens there, um, yeah, that's an interesting fight.
If that fight were to come to fruition, how do you see that playing out?
But with me and Shakur,
Right. Correct. Yep.
I think it'll be a great chess match. Now,
Hmm.
my boxing ability is a lot better than what I've showcased
Okay.
in the pros. Like that's why I highly believe in myself because of what I've done over my career,
Mm.
behind the scenes. I've beaten some good fighters, some Olympians myself, and to do that you need a good high level boxing IQ, and I feel like I've got that, and I know Shakur definitely has got that. So it'd just be a matter of being a very good chestnut.
Just kind of going a little bit off topic there, but obviously, like you said, Shakur and Zapita are going to be fighting each other. How do you see that fight planning out on July 12th?
If you asked me before the Tevin Farmer fight, I would have
Hmm.
said it'd have been a very, very hard night for Shakur and Zapita probably would have won.
Okay.
But after the two Tevin Farmer fights, I'm swaying more towards Shakur.
All right. Well, I want to also ask you, Archie, because we look at the next, let's say 12 to 18 months, 12 to 20 months for yourself, a year and a half. What do you see in store for yourself? How many fights? What do you want to accomplish? If I were to talk to you again, like I said, in a year and a half, where do you possibly see yourself at that point in time?
Well, I wouldn't want a world title by then.
Okay.
At least by the end of this year, being talks for a world title. I need to beat Maxi in the next 10 days.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, just get myself. I want to be active. That's my main thing. Back in 2019, when I was active, I was climbing the rankings. And then
Yep.
since 2019, I've had one fight a year.
Hmm.
So I just want to be active, be in good fights. That's what I want.
So you're saying there's a good chance we're going to see Archie a little bit more often now?
Yeah, definitely. Now,
Love it.
now all that stuff's out of the way with. That's all in the past. We're here now. Beat Maxi Hughes next week. And then, yeah, just big fights moving forward.
Absolutely, man. Well, Archie, I have one final question for you. It's the question I like wrapping up every single interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. I know you have big plans coming up for the future now, but one day you'll put down the boxing gloves, move on from boxing. When that day comes, what is it that you want to be remembered for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
Um, I would like to be known as about a bit of an inspiration to those who haven't had it easy and have to go the hard route. because I stayed disciplined, I stayed dedicated, I didn't go off the radar, I kind of just stuck with it, trust the process, and then become world champion. Become multiple weight world champion. That's the plan.
Mhm.
So yeah, hopefully a bit of inspirational to those who have got to struggle and not just gifted, like gifted these big fights and gifted all the money and titles. I've had
Love
to
it.
go through the hard work, hard
And
way.
kind of piggybacking off that real quick, like I know we talked about this before, but knowing that you have had to work for every single fight you've gone, had to work for every position, how much better does that make it now when you reflect back on your career to this point and kind of realize, you know what, I had to go through a lot of stuff. I wasn't just gifted it. How much better or sweeter does the reward taste now because of that?
A good friend said to me years ago, "You need bad times to appreciate the good times."
Yep.
I didn't really understand what he said, what he really meant. I was like, "No, I want to be with the good times. So I don't need no bad times."
Right.
But now I've been there, and when the good times really do come, then it just goes to show, and you can really appreciate it a lot more. And knowing
Absolutely.
that you've stayed with it and you've worked hard and you've blood, sweat, and tears into it, it makes you feel that much better.
Absolutely, man. Well, Archie, I appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man. It was a blessing getting to talk to you and have you on here. And best of luck on May 23rd.
I really appreciate the time. And thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you.